Like sometimes it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go right in there, I'm gonna go left, and then we're gonna spike the group, and then they spike us first, and we all die. So yeah, sometimes you think up all of these scenarios in your head, but you will still end up not being able to execute them as well. That is another big part of it. Therefore, when things don't go to plan, you have to be reactive. And what is the better way to be reactive than to practice for it?
Because like again, I'm also thinking like 2 steps ahead because I'm thinking this like again, like I play RTSs. That's what I like to do when it comes to like PvP. Even like I like to think, okay, what is going to happen? What are people going to do? And sometimes it even gets in my own head. But like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that out loud because like I'm the type of person that I don't know if anybody else is like this. Like I call it single core processor in my brain, where like I can't type and text at the same time to give you like a concept because then I'll say what I'm typing or type what I'm saying, etc. So I don't want to confuse people if I'm going through multiple things in my head.
If you would like to support this podcast, subscribing to the channel and sharing with others is a free way to do so. You can also leave feedback in the comments below or join my Discord. Disclaimer: this podcast is largely based on experience and opinion. Your own may differ. Please be respectful if you'd like to voice this. Also keep in mind this season was recorded in July and August of 2022, so information may be outdated or the guests may have differing opinions in the future. Welcome back to Say Chat, everyone. Last episode at the end, I did mention that we had a bit of an overflow for this episode. It turns out that Commander individuality is kind of a really meaty subject, and we couldn't fit it all into 30 minutes no matter how hard we tried. So I split it into 2 parts. This episode will be part 2 of that, where we branch off from the histories that we talked about last episode and kind of dissect why and how this influenced our panel's individuality. So, without further ado, I'm just going to dive straight into the episode and I'll talk to you all at the end.
Yeah, part of your World Reward experience as a commander, if you're listening to this and you want to be a commander, is you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. And that's how you're gonna learn from dying a lot. There is no right answer. I used to ask this to myself. Should I engage or should I wait for them to engage? There's no correct answer to that. I'm just speaking from experience because I've done both. I've tried engaging first and then I lose. And then I've also tried letting the enemy engage first and then I lose. So it's really, like I said, super dependent on your squad. Your squad needs to carry their weight. They need to actually press buttons and do things. That's it.
That kind of makes me wonder in terms of, I mean, it's very squad dependent, right? And if you're a pug commander, you have to roll with the punches. Overall, did you guys ever try when you were first getting your feet, like, there's a term called limit testing, or like testing your limits and stuff like that, and doing things that put you out of your comfort zone to see if you can handle those situations, or if you can't handle them and you like die or whatever, giving you information on what you can do later on. So like in terms of Globe, you said that you were trying to avoid, you don't really know when to be aggressive. Like, would the other commanders maybe suggest having Globe limit test a little bit and try to be aggressive and see how it goes and learn from that? Or would you just say, just continue on and you're gonna find your style, whether it's passive or aggressive or whatever? Either way, like, don't push your boundaries because you're naturally gonna end up coming out in your own style either way. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite way to limit test, and this is something that Ruthless will do as well, we literally did it like last week, is find a way to get into a keep, like a T3 keep, and then just sit there and wait to die. Like, push, kill people, keep cloud off you, make good reactions, but don't really like seriously engage the Lord and try to flip the objectives and just see how long you can last before you make too many bad decisions and lose too many people that you get pushed out of the objective. I like it because it's not really like a strategy that you have to be super mindful about. It's just kind of like, all right, I'm in the situation now, how do I get out of it?
And then thinking about it afterwards. Okay, well, we were in that situation. This is what we did wrong. Here's what we could do differently next time, type stuff.
Yeah, afterwards you get to do all like, the VOD review. It's harder to do open field because open field you always have the option of like, well, I'll just leave. Like I won't take the fight and I'll go somewhere else. It's a lot harder to do that in a keep when you're like surrounded with siege and there's roamers and cloud everywhere. It's harder to just kind of pull off safely. So you're in it and you kind of need to work your way.
So I do want to backtrack a little bit because I want to, I guess, because I can give it all at once, all my things. Like my style, to keep on this topic quickly, I limit test every day. Funny enough, just because when you're pugmanding, you kind of have to because you get new people every day, and you don't have the same group. Like I don't have the like, oh, okay, I have XYZ people here. I know what I can and can't do. I limit test daily, and it gets me killed, and it's fine. I know the risk I get world, but going more backwards because I wanted to say like my like feel and my individuality. Like I tend to think of this game almost like an RTS. When I command, I tend to think like if I was playing against somebody in Warcraft 3 or for other people it'd be StarCraft, right? Like whatever your cup of your tea of your RTS is. I tried to think ahead to the point where sometimes it's a detriment because I hurt myself because I go, oh, I'm thinking too far ahead or I'm thinking too much, and then they don't end up doing that, and I put myself in a bad position. But I tend to think like I'm playing an RTS, and I play like I'm playing an RTS. Like back on the old games like Star Wars Galaxies and Warhammer, there weren't really call outs like we have in Guild Wars 2. At least from my personal experience when I played with my guilds and my groups, they were mostly like, you gotta learn, right? Like I shouldn't be giving you information like that that can blow up things that could not be bad, like move, left, those types of things didn't happen. And it's one of those things that's just it's interesting because it's like I definitely need to get better at that for people, but that affects my style right now because I just expect people to be like, you need to follow me however you can. That's your job. Do what you need to do, and I'll lead you to safety. Like you just have to trust me. And people, unless I'm in a closed squad, for the very few times I've done it, doesn't really happen when it comes to pugman.
Yeah.
So I need to get better at doing that, but I also then need to differentiate my thoughts because I'm thinking ahead. And so like randomly saying things that might not pertain to really anybody or anybody might not really like oh wait, this is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like why are you saying this right now is hard. It really is hard.
Yeah.
That's my hardest thing about commanding right now and getting used to how Guild Wars, how people expect it. Because, like I've been in the group with Holy and Tofu and they're like, what's the like auctioneers? They're like talking like every second, like they're saying shit, like it's nonstop, over and over and over again, and it's like, oh, you turn onto my stream and my thing, and I'm just like, if you follow me, you'll be living, and I'll even say like, come to me, guys, come to me, because they'll get lost, and it's just like, oh, I think of this as second nature almost.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting how you pulled in like your outside influence and you're reflecting it onto how your commanding style is right now. It's like you're thinking 2 steps ahead and you're trying to tell people what to do in the moment. So like the 2 trains of thought, just balancing that. I can see how it would be super difficult to do that. That kind of makes me want to pull the other commanders in on that if that's okay with you. Like, do you guys think 2 steps ahead and dictate the now, or do you wing it, or what's your guys' do you have like the same thought process as KAHMEENA in that sense?
It's sort of a hybrid, I think, for me. There's definitely an element of predict where other groups will be and what other groups might do. But I think also if you think too far ahead, you can kind of outfox yourself and forget to just respawn to, what you're seeing on the field. So I think, if I can see a group And I'm like, if I have a group in my sight, I'm like, I know where they can move, I know where they're likely to push. If I can't see a group, that's when I start to kind of get into that think 2 steps ahead headspace. Like, what if they come from spawn? What if E waypoint gets pulled? What if they're behind a tower or keep and I can't see them? But I think you really just kind of, when you have the group in front of you, you just kind of have to focus on where they are.
Okay. Yeah. Holy globe. What about you guys? Are you more reactive or are you more think 2 steps ahead type thing, or the hybrid?
I think it's
Right.
half and half.
Yep,
Go
I
ahead, Gold.
definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. Like sometimes it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go right in there, I'm gonna go left, and then we're gonna spike the group, and then they spike us first, and we all die. So yeah, sometimes you think up all of these scenarios in your head, but you will still end up not being able to execute them as well. That is another big part of it. Therefore, when things don't go to plan, you have to be reactive. And what is the better way to be reactive than to practice for it?
Yeah, and on top of that, I had this issue like last week. I think I was commanding versus Dead for one night. Dead being a vastly better led group than whatever I was doing with KNT. And I was trying to play the reactive role, but Dead was so much better at taking action than I was at reacting to them, then that I was starting fights off on the back foot, before like the skills had even been cast. Because I was waiting for them to make the first move, but their first moves were like better than anything I could do to respond to them. And so I actually wound up having better luck, kind of shifting my own personal preferred style and just getting back into that aggressive role of like, I'm not really going to think about how Dead is probably better at commanding than I am. I'm just going to like push. I'm going to make my windows, and I'm not going to let them react to me in like the ways that they want, because when they have the opportunity to set the fight up, they're doing a lot better, so I'm not going to give them that window.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that it's so interesting because like I personally, I don't know, I'm like at a weird thing, and maybe this will change over time because it's so new. But like I actively don't like a lot of the constant, like left, 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 bomb, 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 essentially types of thing. I like what I used to do, the old, like I guess I call it old school, but it's not. It like where I'll put a marker and I want people to pay attention because a lot of people really, it seems like, don't pay attention when they come into World of World. They kind of like zone out and they're like, okay, I'm here to get, my bags and I'm kind of here to do my thing. And when you say all that stuff, for me at least, it becomes chaotic, right? It becomes like, where am I? What's going on? How things are happening? Like when I was doing this stuff with Roy, I was like, I honestly started to lose him because he was saying so many things, or he would say something and then actively, instinctively go someplace else. And it's like, where do I go? And then I'm like sitting here like, okay, what is happening? Like, I know Holy does this, but like, do you guys, do that? Like, do you guys like say like where you're going every single, step you're walking to? Do you do that? Is that okay if I don't do that?
It's probably
Or do I
okay if
have
you
to
don't.
evolve to that?
I think it's probably okay if you don't do it, but I think at least for me, this is from personal experience. The reason, well, I guess before that, my individual style for that is that I'll just kind of like stream of consciousness narrate what I'm doing. So that'll entail like, we're going to move left, we're going to move right, looking for enemy group, don't see them. I think I'm going to set up katas on this ball, and it's just kind of like narrating my own thought process of what are the things that I'm looking at, what are the things that I want to do, and I do that in part because it helps keep people engaged. It helps keep people focused. There's that managerial role of being a commander, and you want to make sure that people are not like tuning out and not paying attention, then getting caught by a spicy bomb. But it's also because it helps keep the group together, to know where you're moving and what you're doing, and it helps keep everyone nice and tight on tag so that you're moving together as like a coherent group. So it's not necessarily because like I'm going to say we're moving left and it's because I want people to move left right now. It's so that people are kind of like on the same wavelength that I am, and they kind of like know what my thought process is. And that, I think, my assumption, that I haven't explicitly checked, is that that's going to make me easier to follow as a commander, and it's going to make it easier for other people to do their roles and play their classes to their optimal efficiency.
And yeah, that's I definitely like understand that it's hard, right? It's like one of those
Oh,
things
it's
that's just
so
like
hard.
because like again, I'm also thinking like 2 steps ahead because I'm thinking this like again, like I play RTSs. That's what I like to do when it comes to like PvP. Even like I like to think, okay, what is going to happen? What are people going to do? And sometimes it even gets in my own head. But like
Yeah.
I don't want to say that out loud because like I'm the type of person that I don't know if anybody else is like this. Like I call it single core processor in my brain, where like I can't type and text at the same time to give you like a concept because then I'll say what I'm typing or type what I'm saying, etc. So I don't want to confuse people if I'm going through multiple things in my head. And like I said, it also becomes chaotic. So in finding my individuality, it's like it's interesting that like I don't know what fork in the road I'm gonna go in the future. Maybe I just keep like I'm doing now and I slowly move toward more like close squads where I'm still gonna always do open squads. I don't think I'll ever stop that. But move it toward like going more close to people that are like me or who understand? Or am I going to fork left and just essentially train myself and force myself to have to do these things?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I really
And-
don't know where that's going to go.
And something related to that, and I want to make sure I turn it over to Globe and AZURE too, so that we're not dominating the conversation here, because I'd be curious to hear their thoughts as well. We've talked a lot about like what a commander's personal style is and like what do you do, but I also want to make sure that we're noting that you're not commanding alone. You're commanding a squad, and that squad might have like different things that they want to do and their own different individual styles. And we've talked a lot about, finding a compromise and finding a middle ground between like aggressive versus reactive, planning versus doing. I think there's also a middle ground, and this is something that a lot of commanders could stand to do better, of asking like, hey, how did that work out? What do you think about this style? What do you think about that style? So I'm curious, KAHMEENA, if you're worried about, I don't want it to sound too chaotic, and I feel like it's chaotic when I'm constantly calling out left, right, forward, bomb here. I think that's something that you can just like put to your squad and be like, hey, are you guys having any trouble following me? Is a question I will ask all the time when I'm commanding. Our movement's easy to follow, our calls easy to follow. What can I be working on that's going to make my commanding better for you guys? And engaging the rest of your squad in that discussion rather than just being like, I am the commander, this is what we're going to do. Everyone should conform to this, and that's how we're going to do the best, I think is a really important dialogue to have as well when you're thinking about what kind of commander you want to be.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because I know AZURE had a little bit of a hiccup with this when he was leading because he would try to present these questions to people and, maybe the group wasn't responsive or, people were afraid to speak up and things like that, which ties into, like, you do want to make it a fun experience for the people you're leading as well because if you don't, they're not gonna lead you. I mean, they might.
Yeah, no one's gonna follow you if you're not like fun to follow.
Yeah, I mean, they might because they just, you're the tag and you're it right now, right? You're the one that they follow. You're the big head honcho on the server or whatever. But it doesn't necessarily make them part of your community, right? So, AZURE, do you kind of want to touch on that and like how you think things are different, like actually having an engaging group that wants to form and like influence your style versus leading a group that may not be as responsive and as willing to give feedback?
Sure.
I know it's a hard subject.
No, it's fine. When I command, first of all, I have thick skin, so all the random, banters or random name calling or shit posting that they're doing in team chat or map chat about me or about our squad or about our guild, it doesn't bother me. What I think is World Reroll is supposed to be fun. I'm playing this game to have fun. World Reroll is a group game. It's a team game. That's everybody in the squad, right? When I'm tagged up and I'm the only one talking, it feels less fun to me because no one else is interacting or engaging. Again, this is a team effort. I can't do everything by myself. And of course, I know I'm not the best commander. You know, there are people that are way better than me. There are squads that are way better than me. But again, that's just like on an individual basis. That's just everybody in the squad needs to pull their own weight type of thing. KAHMEENA, I wanted to talk about what you were saying. There's no right or wrong answer. You just need to keep playing, probably with different squads, follow different commanders. It's probably going to be difficult for you because, we're just stuck in like, servers pretty much.
Yeah, the alliance is set.
Yeah, so it's okay to not command the way me and Chef commands. You don't have to be that loud, big energy, fast talker type of guy. Have you ever listened to Indo command? He doesn't do that either, per
He's so much
se.
more chill.
Yeah. So it's okay for you to be like slow commanding, but you
I'm
do need
just
to you do need to communicate with your team, tell them what the plan is. It's a strategy game, right? It's an RTS, but this case it's a team RTS. They can't read your mind. They don't know what you're gonna be doing. Fortunately, that's just the nature of the beast. You have to communicate. That's what World Reworld is. It's a team game. Don't forget that. You have to tell your squad what you're doing and just work off from that.
you're right. No, you're 100% right. Like I'm just afraid because think of it like this. I definitely need to get better at that. I'm just afraid that people are gonna want me to do something that I struggle to do with because I don't know if I can be that person who constantly, like talks. And all the commanders I normally see do that type of thing. And it's like I want the player because I want people to have fun. Like I said, like I wanted to do it for the community. It's not just about me. But if people expect that, I don't know if I can get to that level. Like I agree with you. And I'm getting better with it. You can see it in my streams where like I tell people like, okay, this is my plan. If things go to hell, just follow me kind of ordeal. And like I'll put markers and I've gotten much better at like using markers now and all this other stuff to say like focus this guy, do this, etc. I'm also starting to implement like things like because I can't type a lot because of my hands, I'll put things like B so that people know that when I hit B, I mean back, right? Back up. Or, go forward if I press F. So I don't have to sit there and type every single little thing, especially for the people that are not in the Discord or whatever. But I'm afraid that I'm not enough. I'm not
Dude,
I guess good enough type of ordeal.
You can't spend time on thinking about it. Like you gotta just like go out and do it. And it's more important than like, okay, so it's flooding to go forward, it's flooding to go backward. Like AZURE said, the most important thing is whether you're having fun or not. So like when I'm commanding, if we've got a bunch of hard fights and I'm getting flooded and I'm like, there's a lot going on and I need to kind of like sit back and process this, I'll just like leave and go flip a tower and take like a 5-minute break mentally. We'll talk about like some other random stuff. We'll tell a couple jokes. We'll bring the mood back up, and then like we'll go back to the fight after we've had that quick 5-minute refresh. Because you don't have to think very hard to drop rams on a tower and then kill a lord. So it's the aspect of commanding that's like setting the tone of the raid. You don't just have to like fight for 3 hours and push nonstop because most people in the squad aren't even going to be able to keep up with that. And sometimes you got to just pull off if you feel like there's too much stuff going on. Take a quick break, take like a 5-minute bio, or just go somewhere else on the map. Finish your dailies, refresh, and then you can come back to the fight after you've given people a bit of a break.
Yeah, I'm going to put a pin in this subject because it goes really well into commander mindset, which we do have another episode dedicated to that specifically. And we are almost at the end. I'm gonna end up. I have to split this into 2 episodes at this point because we're at an hour. It was awesome hearing about everything. We have 5 minutes left, basically. Just really quick, I would like to know all of your guys' suggestions for new commanders. Top advice for finding their individuality. What do you think that they should do?
All right, so my Guild Wars 2 combat is good answer got stolen earlier, so I'm gonna steal everyone else's good answer. Follow different commanders, like get exposure to them, because I'm sure that's what everyone else was going to say, so I'm just going to jump on it now.
I will say quickly, what the biggest thing for me is that there's not a lot of commanders who run at the time slot that I am, at least on the servers that I'm doing right now. So that's really hard for me, but it just means it'll take me.
Now that you're tagging EU, it might be different. You'll be able to follow other people.
Yeah.
However, Another issue that arises real quickly, I know we're running out of time, but when you're pugmanding, not a lot of people actually end up joining voice. I don't know how big that is on NA, but it definitely is
It's
big
pretty
on
bad
EU.
over here.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get
it's
around 40 people in squad, meanwhile only 10 to 20 are on voice. How do you combat that? How do you get your communication up from that point?
that's killing me right now. And like I said, that's probably a whole nother thing because I can't type. Like, so it's like,
Exactly.
oh no. It's terrible.
I'll throw that into like episode 5, like Through the Eyes of the Commander, and we'll talk about that there because I think that is pretty interesting. Learning how to like communicate between the different avenues like voice and text and things like that. So I'll put a pin in that one too, and we'll bring that one back up. But let's go back to advice really quick. Globe, biggest advice for people finding their individuality.
Definitely keep trying.
Keep trying. That's a good one. That's a good one. Don't just give up. I like it. Yeah.
Don't get discouraged. Don't be afraid of dying. It's okay to die and make mistakes.
Don't die in real
And-
life, please.
And it's just
You
a
die
grind.
in the game, you
really.
die in real life.
Oh,
Don't pay
no.
attention to the people in map chat or team chat that are calling you bad player or whatever.
Or better, turn team chat off and have someone else scout for you. Like if you're worried about the toxicity when you're starting out, like just tell
Yeah.
someone in squad to let you know if there's an enemy group somewhere, and then turn it off.
Or you can
Yeah.
do what I did and just clap back at them, and then they don't bother you after that point. Call them out.
It takes, honestly, I still stand by this. It takes years to get good at World War commanding.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Does.
And confirm.
So I think, KAHMEENA, did you give your one piece of advice?
My one piece of advice is to do everything everyone else said because I took all the answers I was literally thinking of, and I'm not gonna sit here, we're already
Try and
In
figure
other
something
words-
else out.
yeah.
In other words,
Don't get discouraged. Keep trying, keep playing, enjoy yourself, and be you.
Yeah.
I will fix what KAHMEENA just said and say get good.
Oh no.
Yeah, that works too.
Always be on doing it.
Oh man. Okay, well, thank you guys again for joining for this episode. Or 2 episodes because we're splitting it into 2. I found this subject really fascinating and I wish we could talk about it all day. I probably could listen to you guys talking about it all day and just ask random questions. But because we're on a time crunch, we're not going to be able to do that. Basically, and overall, is a lot goes into tagging and finding your individual style. And even when you think you found your style, it's going to end up adapting because of what World versus World is and how fluent and reactive it is. And so no matter what history you come from, drawing from that to find your own style is going to make it even better for the rest of the community because all the other commanders are going to learn from you and you're going to learn from them. So it's kind of like a win-win when we get all of these different backgrounds together and are able to kind of mesh them into the melting pot that is World versus World. And it's a super interesting conversation and topic. If you guys are listening to this and you're a commander and you want to give a bit of your history and how you think that influences your style, I would love to read it. If you want to join my Discord and talk about it, I would love that too. But yeah, that's it for this episode, for this subject of individuality in commanding World versus World. Next week we're going to be talking about meta and exclusivity. I can't speak. I can't say that word. I'm not going to try it again. But anyway, yeah. Thank you guys again for listening. Hit that sub button if you want to see when the next episode is live. For now, we'll see you around next time, chat.
Bye.
Laters.